Recording is on, and I will spotlight Venerable Robina for everyone.
Okay. Okay. So we just think we're gonna, let's do this little practice together. Do this little 1 hour final session together about Tara, the Buddhas, how we use these practices, how they help us, etc., etc. And we'll go through the 21 Taras. We'll sing the 21 Tara praises today and have a look at the picture and see if we can talk about some of the qualities. All right, dearest ones, let's say our refuge prayer. Yeah. Okay, the mandala, all right, good. Someone could sing the mandala. So we think we're offering all these marvelous things to the Buddha as a request for the teachings. Okay. Who's going to sing?
I will. I just unmuted myself. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I already started. Hello, Venerable, but didn't realize that nobody could hear me besides myself.
Good. Natural. Okay. Go for it.
Saji Peki Jukshin Metok Tramri Rablingji Nidegen Padi Sangye Jingdu Mikte Ulwa Idro Kunamdak Jingla Parshog. Perfect, pure, holy gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami.
Okay, so now we just do our little motivation. Refuge. So we think that we're relying upon the Buddha until we're enlightened. Until we're enlightened, we're going to rely upon the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the virtuous karma we create by listening to these teachings, may we all become Buddha in order to benefit all suffering sentient beings. That's the first verse. That's the first time. Sangye chodan soke chonam la janchu badu jagni kyab suchi dagi chonyen gi personam ki zola penche sangye drupa shog. And again, until we're enlightened, we're going to rely upon the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. And by the merits of listening to all of these teachings, may we become a Buddha to benefit all suffering sentient beings. All right. So why don't we just, let's do this. There are many, okay, again, remember these Buddhas. This is the subtler form, the Buddha the Buddha mind, the actual Buddha, as we've been talking, the actual Buddha. It's in Sanskrit, it's known as this word Dharma Kaya. Technically, they translate it as truth, body. But just speaking simply, it's the fully enlightened mind. We are mind. Basically, we are mind. Consciousness is not physical. This is very clear for the Buddha. Consciousness is not physical. Hang on. Consciousness is not physical. So right now, because of our we've got a body, we've got a very gross energy. But if we look into the tantric explanation of the universe, that according to the Vajrayana, the Tantrayana, all minds are not physical, but they're all linked to their own set of the 4 elements. This is an interesting point. When we understand this, we can understand how we create karma. We can understand how our actions impact upon the physical. We can understand even how that impacts upon the external physical world. It really explains how we create our own reality. So the mind at the moment, the minds manifest in different realms of existence. So you've got beings who are called hell beings. Well, you could argue that their minds are conjoined with fire, the fire element predominantly, and their minds have terrible, terrible suffering of terrible karmic appearances, which are the fruit of their own past actions. Then you have spirits, and you could say that their minds are conjoined with the air, predominantly with air energy, and that they've got intensely suffering experiences related to attachment. And then you have the animal realm, whose predominant, the very gross bodies, And what you could argue, we're very similar to the animals. It's a very gross time. There's very degenerate times, according to the Buddhist view of the whole universe. Eons ago, a long time ago, before this rebirth on this planet, human bodies were much more subtle. We had subtle light bodies, not on this planet. And then degenerate times have come along, attachment has grown, and then we've literally created these gross looking bodies, and we're born on a planet looking like a bunch of apes. So it's very degenerate times. So our mind, due to karma, everybody's minds experience certain things, but because the mind impacts upon the physical, then we create our own physical reality. This is due to karma. So then as you progress spiritually, you purify your mind, but you also purify your physical energy. And eventually when you've got realizations and you become an Arya Bodhisattva, you've realized emptiness. And now already you're capable of manifesting your mind in hundreds of different bodies around the universe. You're in complete control of these laws of nature, because the mind and the physical elements are intimately connected. This is a really crucial thing to understand in Tantra, in Vajrayana. And it explains how when you're highly evolved being, you can manifest your mind wherever you like, taking different shapes and forms, different bodies, So depending on karma, the very suffering realms are born as a hell beings, spirits and animals. Their minds are completely polluted by delusions, and therefore their physical energies are very polluted and very diluted. And look at us, like walking around with this big, bundle of garbage, this body, So when your mind's really purified and you finally become a Buddha, you don't need a body. Your mind is infinitely pure. Your mind pervades the universe. Your mind has infinite wisdom. Your mind has infinite compassion. But because of your compassion, because you work for so many lifetimes to only become a Buddha only for the sake of others, then you're now infinitely capable, as I said, to manifest in as many bodies as you like around the universe. Even the lowest level bodhisattva, the Arya Bodhisattva, those who have realized emptiness, and there are 10 stages of development after that before you get to Buddhahood. You're capable of manifesting, at least at the very first level, 100 different bodies simultaneously. Now, of course, that sounds like science fiction if we take the materialist view of the mind and the body, but that's not the Buddha's view. And in the Vajrayana view, as His Holiness says, the mind, all minds are inextricably linked to their own set of the 4 elements. So when you're in complete control and you're beyond the normal laws of ridiculous karma, you can do what you like. You can manifest bodies wherever you want. There are different bodies the Buddha manifests in. One kind is the grosser one that we can see, for example, the body of Shakyamuni Buddha. They call him the supreme Nirmanakaya, the supreme emanation body. And that's the body, that's the historical Buddha. The next supreme emanation body will be Maitreya, who knows when, in thousands of years later. Then there are the other Nirmanakayas, which are any form that the Buddha mind consciously decides to manifest in to benefit sentient beings. That could be as a worm, as a dog, as a human, as a hell being, as a spirit, as a pillar, as a bridge, as a table. They can conjure in their mind with any 4 elements that they wish and manifest wherever they like around the universe to benefit sentient beings. So the subtler form the Buddha mind chooses to manifest in is the one that the Arya Bodhisattvas can see. And that's this subtle Sambhogakaya, enjoyment body. And that's mainly in Tantra, where you see these hundreds of different Buddhas, and we're talking of one of them called Tara. So of course, this is coming from Indian tradition. This is not coming from Rome or Greece. But there's an explanation of all of it in the Vajrayana, and all of these Buddhas fit into these 5 Buddha families, and they're all, as we've been talking, they're all manifestations of different qualities of the mind. That's the key thing in Tantra. Hundreds of these different Buddhas, and they're all either the manifestation of purified delusion or the manifestation of a quality that you want to cultivate. So Chenrezig, for example, is a manifestation of compassion. Tara, she's many, many manifestations of Tara, and soon we'll look at the 21 Taras as particular practice, some wrathful, some peaceful, some red, some white, some green, all different, and they're all representing different qualities, This is these Sambhogakaya, these subtle light bodies, which we can see conveyed in these statues and in these pictures that we're describing here, So the Buddha, there's one Buddha mind, basically the pure, unmanifest, all-knowing, all clear, all compassionate, all pervasive, all powerful Buddha mind. This is the Dharmakaya, the omniscient mind. It's a bit like the Christians say, God is everywhere. Well, that mind is everywhere. Mind is not physical. And when it's finally unencumbered by all delusions, all the nonsense, then it will be, how can it be confined by space or time or matter? It's not a possibility. Right now, our mind is stuck inside this body due to countless lifetimes of negative karma, due to countless lifetimes of attachment. We've literally created this shape that we've got, you know. Okay, it's better than a dog shape. We can do more with it because we've got access to our virtue. That's the saving grace of being a human. But as we progress, we don't need stupid old bodies, believe me. But then the only reason the Buddhas manifest in bodies is to benefit poor old suffering sentient beings like you and me. And Tara is one of those. So we also talked about how, you know, when you progress into the Vajrayana and you start to take empowerments into these different practices, eventually you connect with a particular Buddha that will become your own yidam, as they say in Tibetan. I don't even know what the word means. Your meditational deity. Basically, you recognize your own mind, you recognize your main delusions, and now you can recognize the Buddha that is best for you in this particular life. You know, well, like we discussed already, you can be in a boy body now, but you could easily have a girl deity as your main yidam, like I talked about as we discussed last week when we read from his life story, Geshe Lama Konchog. His deity was Vajrayogini, but who saw a blissful looking red lady? Nobody. Saw this grumpy old grandfather, you know, looked like. They all said he scared everybody. But he's this radiant female Buddha. That was his actual nature, you know. So each of us can have this connection. We can connect with all the Buddhas. And so, of course, the other thing we talked about, which really makes it very personal, is that it's our own Lama's mind, our own guru, whom we have chosen, whom we practice seeing as oneness with, in this case, Tara. You know, like I gave that kind of a little analogy, like if you did it, it's an interesting way to look at it. If you did a picture of an ideal tennis player with all the perfect qualities of the best tennis player, the exact right muscles, the exact length of the hands, the right shaped feet, the right tone of the body, everything perfect. That's an idealized picture of a tennis player, but that's not a person yet. It's just a shape. It's like an archetype. Well, that's like these Buddhas. They talk about how Tara was grown out of the tear of Chenrezig, all these stories, how we discussed last week how Medicine Buddha promised this and that. But, you know, in the same way that we track back Shakyamuni Buddha to his place and time in history in India, I don't think you can track back these Buddhas to a particular place and time in India or somewhere else. I'm not sure you can. But what I'm meaning is there are millions of people who have become Tara. There are millions of people who have become the Medicine Buddha. So that's who the Medicine Buddha is. So there's a generic image of the Buddha, but then, you know, you make it personal by putting Serena's face or Federer's face on that tennis play, on that idealized picture. That's the way I like to think about it. Because there are countless people who have become Buddha. There's not just one Tara. She's just this shape and form, this archetype of that particular Buddha. And that's someone we connect with, and that's someone we want to become, you know. I think it's like something like that. Don't know if that helps your mind, but it helps my mind. So let's look at the picture of the 21 Taras, and let's get the prayer, and we'll we'll chant the prayer together in English. It's sort of, you chant it in the same style as the Tibetan. We'll just do that for the blessing of the practice. Let's have it, Talia. And all the different 21. If we look at the picture, so let's look at the picture first. Put the two together, would you? The picture and the prayer separately on the screen.
Okay.
Thanks, darling.
Can you see the 21 Tara?
And we need the prayer as well. Both of them up, please. Both together.
Now we'll have the prayer because now we can have multiple sharing.
Good.
See how it works technically. This
will make
I don't think that two people can share at the same time. So if you want me to share, I will have to share both.
No, but I don't see why. But I don't know why you can't put two different documents.
I'm going to give it a try.
You're doing it. Okay. We'll just make Tara smaller and put the prayer next to her.
Exactly. Just give me a second here.
The painting is by Andy Weber, a German student of Lama Yeshe. He painted this like I think sort of about 35 years ago. I don't know in order, I don't know the verses, which ones they refer to. I can't tell you that, I don't know.
Okay, let's see.
Just a second. I'm trying to open the picture and somehow I'm having trouble opening it. One moment.
Can't make it smaller. You can't shrink the PDF and put it up in a smaller version.
Yes.
I've no idea, sweetheart. I don't know about that. Laura, I've got no idea.
Yes, yes.
I don't know, Laura. I can't answer that. I'm not very knowledgeable about all these things.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure they do in the end.
Are you able to see this?
Okay,
now?
but it's fat though. Can we make it skinny? You can't make it skinny so that it doesn't take up the whole screen.
Okay.
Or put the picture
Can
on
you
top.
also see Tara?
What?
Would you able to see Tara as well?
Yeah,
21 Tara?
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, then I do this.
That's better. So make her a bit bigger. Try and make them both a bit bigger now.
Okay.
Put Tara over there and put the picture on top of the words.
Yeah.
There you go. Now make her bigger.
Make her bigger.
More over towards the words. Squeeze up that space. We don't need that space. That's right. And make her bigger as much as you can. Make the words bigger too if you can. That's right. Good. Keep going. That's it. Move it up to the top. Move it up to the top. Can you move up the document? No.
Yes.
Okay. Good. That's better. Now we're getting something. And then put Tara on top. That's it. But then every time you click on the words, it's going to move the picture away, but never mind. So, okay, I don't know where they all belong, but this has been done by Martin Wilson years ago. He put these words into chantable form so that it's a similar chant to the Tibetan. And the way all the 21, yeah, of course they do. Yes, Christina, yes, of course they would all belong to the same family. So the point is the way they chant Tibetans, they have two ways. They sing verses, they sing a melody like we just did before, you know. Sangye, sang. The one we do is Sangye Churtan, that's more like a chant. But the one that the mandala prayer, Saji Perki Shukshing Metog, that's a melody. The other one, Sangye Charang Soke Chognam Lajan, that's more like a chant. So there's a chant, and it's a bit like rap actually, but Westerners somehow don't do it properly. We get very sort of, they kind of chant around the line. It's very kind of rhythmic. So anyway, we'll just chant and relax and enjoy and chant together. Okay. All right. We'll just look at the taras. There they all are. I don't know which one begins number one. I have no idea. I can't tell you. But we'll just sing them. Each one is referring to these verses. So off we go. We'll just sing and enjoy. Om, homage, Tara, swift, heroic, eyes like lightning instantaneous, sprung from opening stamens of the Lord of three worlds, tear-born lotus. Homage, she whose face combines 100 autumn moons at fullest, blazing with light rays resplendent as 1,000-star collection. Homage, golden blue one lotus. There you go, blue one. I was trying a blue one. Where is she? Maybe over here on the top corner. Look, see? Maybe it's starting from the top. Heroic, maybe the top one above green Tara, then the red one. Then the next one is blue. So it could be to the right, maybe goes down and around. Who knows? I don't know. Blue, blazing with light rays resplendent as 1,000-star collection. Homage, golden blue one lotus, waterborne in hand adorned, giving effort come austerities, patience, meditation, her sphere. Homage, crowd of Tathagatas, actions triumph without limit. I know I have to keep changing. Relied on by conquerors' children, having reached every perfection. We'll push Tara over to the right then. Push her over to the right so we don't have to keep changing. That's better, yeah. That's it. Now we can't. She's too small now. She's too small now. That'll do. Okay, that's right. That'll do. That's good. Bit bigger, Tara. There you go. Beautiful. Homage, crown of Tathagatas, actions triumph without limit, relied on by conquerors' children, having reached every perfection. Homage filling with Tutare, whom desire direction and space, trampling with her feet the seven worlds, able to draw forth all beings. Homage worshipped by the all lords, Chakra, Agni, Brahma, Maru, honored by the hosts of spirits, corpse raisers, Gandharvas, Yakshas. Homage with her tre and pair sounds, destroying foes' magic diagrams, her feet pressing left out right in, blazing in a raging fire blaze. Homage to a very dreadful destroyer of Mara's champions, she with frowning lotus visage, who is slayer of all enemies. Homage at the heart her fingers, adorn her with three jewel mudra, light ray masses all excited, all directions wheels adorn her. Homage she so joyous, radiant, crown emitting garlands of light, mirthful laughing with Totare, subjugating Mara's devas. Homage she able to summon all earth guardians assembly, shaking, frowning with her Hong sign, saving from every misfortune. Homage crown adorned with crescent, moon all ornaments most shining, Amitabha in her hair knot, sending out much light eternal. Homage she mid-wreath ablaze like eon ending fire abiding, right stretched, left bent joy surrounds you, troops of enemies destroying. Homage she who strikes the ground with her palm and with her foot beats it, scowling with the letter Hung, the 7 levels she does conquer. Homage happy, virtuous, peaceful, she whose field is peace nirvana, she endowed with Om and Swaha, destroyer of the great evil. Homage she with joy surrounded, tearing foes' bodies asunder, freeze with Hung and knowledge mantra, arrangement of the 10 letters. Homage Ture with seed letter of the shape of syllable Hung, by foot stamping shakes the 3 worlds, Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage holding in her hand the dear marked moon of Deva lake form, with twice spoken Tara and Pe, totally dispelling poison. Homage to whom gods and their kings and the Kinnaras do honor, armored in all joyful splendor, she dispels bad dreams and conflicts. All the way up, 2 more. Homage she whose 2 eyes bright with radiance of sun and full moon, with twice Hara and Tutare, she dispels severe contagion. Homage full of liberating power by the set of 3 natures, destroys hosts of spirits, yakshas, and raise corpses supreme Ture. These praises with the root mantras and prostrations thus are 21. Okay. We can leave her there, maybe. Put the picture back. Just leave her there with the blessing.
Put the picture back. Okay.
I think just, and put the words away. Or just
Okay.
put the pictures up. That's it. Just make the picture big so we can see her nicely. That's it. Good, lovely. Okay. Now I can see all you people now. I've got to see you all.
Venerable Robina, I'll reshare this again so that it's cleaner.
Yeah, put it cleaner, put it away. Oh, okay, whatever you want. And then we see each other again, it's good. So listen, sweethearts, I think it's good if you now ask me some questions about Tara, about anything you like this last time we've got. I can say, I mean, there's so much more we've said, there's so much more to learn. We've said enough, I think, a little bit I've done to try to make you understand a bit from what I know. So why don't you ask me some questions now? I think this is really important. Practical questions, and they don't have to be clever and fancy. Any simple question you like, ask me.
Venerable Robina, there are a couple questions in the chat already.
Good, I'm happy.
Laura, would you like to unmute yourself, or you'd like me to ask a question for you?
Well, I think Venerable Robina already answered.
I answered it.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
the next one too, and yes, I answered the next one as well. Yes, of course, they're all in the Abhidhamma family. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay, so new question.
Next question.
There's one hand is from Alona. Hi, Alona.
Yes, darling.
Hello, Venerable. Thank you for your teachings.
Good.
I have never heard this Tantra teachings. It's the first time from you, like second time.
Good,
so I don't know anything about that. And I was wondering, as far as I understood, it's something that I can pick one, right? And
one what, sweetheart?
Some the qualities
Buddhist.
that they represent.
Not a question of pick one. There are hundreds of these Buddhas, as I mentioned, and as we develop our practice, sweetheart, as we develop our practice, go through the various stages, at some point we feel like ready to start doing some of these practices. And because some of them, such as Tara, Chenrezig, the Buddha of Compassion, Medicine Buddha, many of these we can do without having received a formal empowerment. But as we get more advanced, we need to take formal empowerment into other practices. But we need all of them because they all just represent different psychological qualities. So in the end, we need all of them. But we like sometimes we rely, maybe one day we'd like to do some Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the mantra of Chenrezig. Other days we might feel like we need to do some Tara. So there's sort of like different practices in our toolkit, but we need all of them in the end. Yeah. So what was your question in general? Was that answering your question?
Yeah, I just thought, how can I practice with that? How can I think about it?
What, sweetheart?
Now, just was wondering, how can I practice? Because I have never heard it. Maybe I just have to read them.
Like anything, how do you practice? You start to learn and study, and as you learn more and read more, you'll start to, these practices will become familiar with. You just keep moving one step at a time in your practice, darling. There will be,
Okay.
so you can read about them, you can read about Tara, you can say her mantra, for example. The booklet, if you download the booklet that I gave everybody, there's a little practice in there. You could do that. You could say her mantra if you liked. You pick them up as you go along and you learn about them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
sweet.
Thank you. Thank you.
What else, people? Anything else?
Quick question.
Yes.
Hi. Quick question. The mantra, one of the 21 mantras, can you just, like in my morning meditations, include it as one of them, or should it be done?
What are you talking about? I don't know any of them. Which mantra are you talking about?
The 21 that you gave us, the list.
Mantras. There was no mantras there. They were just names and little verses.
Those are just verses. So they're not.
Yeah, verses. The mantra, for example, Tara's mantra, there are different mantras. Probably each one has their own mantra, but I don't know what they are.
Okay.
The mantra of green Tara is Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha. That's the mantra in Sanskrit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the PDF that you had is not them. I misunderstood.
No,
Okay.
they're just little praises, little verses. Lots of the prayers in Tibetan, there are praises, and these are the praises to these particular different
praises
aspects of Tara.
Okay.
I mean, probably each one has got a mantra, and I don't know them. There are many of them have different mantras for sure. But the general mantra that's most popular that relates to green Tara, who's in the middle, that's Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Swaha.
Right, that
Yeah.
one. Okay.
Good, darling.
Okay.
Good. Fantastic. Perfect. Good, sweetheart. What else?
And then question from Claudia, and I'll just say it for her. Not sure
Yes.
if she's her speaker today. So for the Tibetan New Year, some centers will practice Mahakala. What practice would you suggest doing for those of us who do not know the practice of Mahakala?
I mean, lots of centers, every center does a different practice according to their Lama, their tradition, So I don't know who's doing Mahakala. Who's doing Mahakala? Which center's doing Mahakala?
Claudia, would you know? Could you? She probably can't speak.
So a center in Wales. Okay,
Oh,
yeah. A particular, pardon?
Yes, she's typed in the chat already.
Okay. So then if you don't know that practice, and if you don't want to do that practice, you don't need to, but you can do any practice you like. I mean, any different centers do different ones. So if you don't know any others, you do the one that you like. If you want to do it yourself personally at home, but if you want to join in another center, you do what they would do. But you do the one that you like, sweetheart, whichever that one is. Does that make sense, sweetheart?
I think so.
Sense? Good.
Yes.
I know. So Claudia, yes, thank you. Good, Claudia. So what was another question there? What was that?
Okay, so Fabio, would you like to unmute yourself, or should I read it out for you?
Christina has asked a question. Is there a sadhana? Yes, in the course notes that I gave all of you, there's a short practice in there of visualizing Tara and reciting her mantra. And there are lots of different sadhanas. Yes, there are. So if you're the center you're connected to, or if the lamas you know have their sadhana, then for sure, there are various ones. But I included a simple practice where you visualize her and you visualize light coming, and then you visualize and you say the mantra. So that's a good start. Yeah.
Yes, may I add that's on page 45 on the tablet format?
Okay, good.
People asked
What
already.
questions were there, darling? What other questions were there?
Yes.
What other questions?
Fabio had a question.
Yes, Fabio.
Hello, Venerable Robina.
Hello.
I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
So I know. So I've been studying. I'm doing a master's in Buddhism at the moment, and
Yes.
I did learn that in Tibetan Buddhism, the deities are divided into wrathful and peaceful deities. I just wanted to ask you, how should we differentiate these and why?
There's actually more than peaceful and wrathful. There are also some deities who are called controlling, some are called increasing, some are peaceful, and some are wrathful. There are 4 ways that the deities manifest according to the needs. So the Buddhas, because all this is basically psychology, so, you know, some, for Chenrezig, for example, is a peaceful aspect. So if you know, that's the one way that the Buddha would manifest, using peaceful methods to benefit sentient beings. Then you've got a wrathful aspect of Chenrezig, which, for example, but also is a controlling energy, and that would be another one called Hayagriva. He's a wrathful and a controlling energy of Chenrezig. So what a Buddha is by definition is a being who wants to help sentient beings. So different, like children of a parent, some parents have to be tough with their kids, and some kids can manage to be very peaceful. So according to the needs of sentient beings, these different Buddhas manifest in these 4 different ways in order to benefit us. That's the simplest answer. And all the Buddhas are these manifestations. Some are powerful, like Yamantaka. Some are controlling as well as wrathful, like Hayagriva. There's a wrathful aspect. There are wrathful aspects of Tara in one of those 21. They're all different aspects that the Buddha mind takes in order to subdue or to benefit sentient beings according to sentient beings' needs. That's the essence of it.
So they manifest themselves at different points in time, depending on...
Not so much different points in time, you know, different ways for different sentient beings. Okay. Every moment of the day, the Buddhas are manifesting according to the needs of sentient beings. So that's why if you know, that's really the best way to say it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense. Thank you.
Peaceful, wrathful, controlling, and increasing. They're the 4 different ways that the Buddhas manifest.
Control and increase. Okay, I didn't know about controlling and increasing. Thank you very much.
Is really just a manifestation of different psychological qualities. So controlling energy is where you're utilizing attachment energy, where you literally, the controlling energy is to have power, literally to have power over sentient beings, not in a heavy way, but in a compassionate way. And then wrathful is transforming anger to help subdue a person who's deluded. Peaceful is the best way to help sentient beings, but some sentient beings are a bit tough-headed and need other methods, you know. Understand?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you very much.
Also ourselves, Fabio, if we become familiar with these practices and we do these different practices, we need all these aspects for our own self, you know. Sometimes we need to use, so Mahakala, for example, is a wrathful aspect of another wrathful aspect of Chenrezig. So, you know, and there's a wrathful mantra. So we need all those energies ourselves to help us transform our own minds. Sometimes we do the wrathful practice, sometimes we do the peaceful practice. We need all these Buddhas is basically psychology, and they're just different representations of, number 1, the qualities we want to cultivate, love, compassion, wisdom, and 2, qualities we want to transform, purified attachment, purified anger, etc., etc., etc. Do you understand?
Yes. So it's kind of almost manifestations of states of mind.
Precisely, literally, not almost, literally. Yeah, it's a visual language. Of course, it's not how we think of psychology. If you saw a statue of Tara, this nice lady with naked breasts, you wouldn't say, oh, there's psychology. But it's really like these really marvelous archetypes. And it's centuries old. It's coming from thousands of years. And it's a system that's developed first from the Hindus and then moved into Buddhism. So it's a very sophisticated type of psychology. And that's not a joke. It's quite literally what it is.
Yes.
You understand?
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much. Thank you.
What else, people? Any other questions?
Yes, Basu has a question. Please.
Good, please talk to me.
Yeah.
Yes, Basu.
Thank you. Thank you for this teaching. Whatever till now you said, it was precisely clear to me. But this point is quite getting confused. I'm getting confused. Is Buddha, if I am not wrong, Buddha never mentioned anything about God in his preachings. So I want to know where these deities come. Where is this? Where this God realm actually exists? and secondly, when we talk about these wrathful deities, and as you just cleared it to Fabio, that they are a state of mind, of Buddha mind, then how, so we will never, at this moment, we cannot reach that kind of mind state, because first we have to be quite peaceful, loving, compassionate. Then maybe we can get enlightenment or can attain the Buddha mind, and thereafter something might happen, which I do not know. Then we can have these different states of Buddha mind, because so I'm quite confused about that, this part, that we talk about so many God deities, but how Buddha never mentioned.
I understand, Basu. I understand. So the first point, you said Buddha didn't say anything about God. What you're meaning is Mr. Buddha, at the time of speaking in his suit, there's different levels of Buddhism, like we've described. So Buddha gave some of his teachings in the aspect of the monk, and he gave the first stages of teachings, and he talked about karma. Now, if you understand karma, not even from the Hindu point of view, then that implies there is no creator. He doesn't say about God is the term we use, isn't it, for a creator? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So here the word God is not the way that's being, it's two things here. The word God in Buddhism is not referring to a creator. It's a name, it's like another term, it means deva. There's a realm of existence that's actually equivalent to what the Muslims call paradise and what the Christians call heaven, and it's within samsara. It's not yet liberated, and it's a very happy rebirth where you've got a subtle light body and everything is very joyful and very blissful. And in Buddhism they call that the deva realm or the God realm, but it's not referring to a creator. That's one use of the word God. It's a type of realm of existence that's the fruit of a lot of karmic, virtuous karma, but it's still within samsara. You haven't got liberated yet. That's one point. Now, the other is when you say God, you mean the creator, right? Don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Buddha clearly, he in his different teachings, the whole of the Buddha's teachings, if we look into the Buddha's teachings, the whole philosophical view of karma and mind, it implies there is no creator. He said, basically, me putting words onto it, Buddha's whole explanation of the universe is that every sentient being whose mind goes back to beginningless time, by their own actions of body, speech, and mind, produce themselves. So of course there's no view of creator in Buddhism. That's the fundamental, massive difference. Even though Hindus talk about karma, you still go back to this source, this first source. There's no view like, and Buddha argues with that view philosophically. That's an energy that's permanent and uncaused. And Buddha, that's where Buddha diverged in his own direction in the teachings now called Buddhism. There's no concept like that in Buddhism. There's only the view of cause and effect, and that every mind is beginningless and endless, and every being by their own actions creates their own reality and can eventually turn themselves into a Buddha. So we don't need being created. We don't need a creator. It just doesn't exist in Buddha's teachings if we really study them deeply.
Absolutely, because in Hinduism...
No, just a moment, Basu, just a moment. You said absolutely, but you said you were confused. You said Buddha doesn't talk about God. So what did you mean by that then?
I meant that there was one small point, that how can somebody with such kind of wrath nature roam in the God realm?
Okay, that's a different discussion. So that's okay. They're not. So that's why I'm trying to clarify the terminology, Basu. First of all, in Buddhism, there is no concept of a creator. Therefore, God, as you're referring to with a capital G, there is no equivalent in Buddhism. Buddha is not the equivalent of God. He is not a creator. He says everybody can become their own Buddha. That's the first point. So there's no concept of a creator is the better way to put it. Second, the word God is used with a lowercase g as an equivalent of a deva, and it's a type of realm of existence within samsara. They're not Buddhas. These are not Buddhas. They're just very blissful beings. We're not discussing those at all. That's that one. Now, the third one we're discussing here, these different manifestations of Buddha mind, and these are all these thousands of different Buddhas, Tara, Chenrezig, millions of them, wrathful ones, peaceful ones, controlling ones, and this is only really talked about in the Vajrayana, in the most advanced advanced levels of the teachings. And in those teachings, they often use the word deity, but it's equivalent to the word Buddha. And it's only in the Vajrayana where these hundreds of different Buddhas manifest, all different states of mind, peaceful ones, wrathful ones. So of course, you're absolutely right. Right now, we're only at the level of junior school where we have to control our body, control our speech, don't kill, don't lie, don't steal. There's no way in the world, of course, we're not qualified, but we can, as we progress, we can move into the compassion wing. We can practice controlling our body and speech, can practice love and compassion. And eventually we can even take an empowerment into a tantric practice of, say, Tara. But of course, we're not Tara yet, but you practice doing Tara. You practice visualizing Tara. You can practice visualizing Mahakala. You can practice saying the mantra of Mahakala. You can practice, and you're creating the cause. Eventually, when you become a Buddha, you are able to manifest as Mahakala, manifest in a wrathful way, manifest as a peaceful way. So it's all practice. Are we communicating now, Bashu?
Yes, now I understand it.
Good, I'm very happy. It's an important point. Thank you so much. Thank you. So please, someone else, other question. These are the things that are so important, because I mean, I know it's so confusing. I mean, when you first get into Tibetan Buddhism, you just get lost because you don't know where all this stuff fits, you know? It's so confusing. I agree with you all. What else, people? Ask me a question.
Yes. Anna has a question. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Robina.
Yes, please talk.
Hello there. I currently am reading the 21 praises to Tara each morning, and I think I've got maybe a different version.
There are many versions, Anna. Yes.
Yeah. In the sixth paragraph in this one, it mentions, I think they're all Hindu gods.
That's
so
right.
Indra, Agni,
right.
And
That's
I was quite taken with Agni, the Vedic fire god, and I was wondering, and I think I've come to understand each one has their own particular story or discussions or teachings. Yeah, but also I was looking or wondering where these Hindu gods represent of the elements or anything else.
I don't know, darling. I don't know all those things. I really don't, because these verses have been around, remember, for 2,500 years, and there's a very close connection with all the different Hindu people. I don't know where all that fits, and I can't begin to answer, and I've never studied it, darling, in depth, so I couldn't even try to answer. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I'm just enjoying studying Tara so much.
Good. I'm
Fantastic.
so happy.
Thank you.
I'm so happy, darling. That's wonderful.
Thank
you. See, the biggest part I think is so interesting, you know, these Buddhas, it's kind of like, you know, when you, especially if you see, I mean, even if you see a peaceful deity, even if you see Tara, I mean, our first instinct, I mean, maybe if we've been Catholics, we could kind of cope, you know, because we've got all these different saints, haven't we? But even in the Catholic tradition, you might have these different aspects of Our Lady and different aspects of the saints, but there aren't any wrathful ones. I don't think there are any saints that go around killing, are there? I don't think there are any wrathful saints. I think the saints are all peaceful. So it's a bit shocking to come into this, you know, the tantric view, which is this I mean, this is why I like to say, really, the tantric psychology is the most sophisticated level. And I can see from questions people have been asking, not just in this class, but in other classes we've had, it really takes us time to get our head around the idea that a person can manifest anger, but be based totally on compassion. This is very hard for us. You know, we love to see the paintings. We think of it as iconography. Oh, there's Mahakala. Wow, isn't that amazing? The great black one. Here's a wrathful aspect of Chenrezig. But if you met a person who is the Buddha and manifests like Mahakala to you, he wouldn't be very kind to you. And then we want to sue him, you know? So we don't like to think of it as real. We like to think of it as iconography. And then the idea that you would say, make an offering to Mahakala or pray to Mahakala, you feel kind of weird, you know? So we've really got to understand this is quite sophisticated psychology. And I say it purposely like that, because if we can, and forget even the tantric teachings, and even in just the bodhisattva path, the sutra teachings. That's why we can't leap into these more advanced levels until we've done some earlier stuff first in order to understand it, you know? So that first we have to learn to, as Basu pointed out, the very first level of practice, please, you control your body and you control your speech, and you do not steal or kill or lie or harm sentient beings or raise your voice or anything else. You need to learn to completely subdue your body and speech. That's junior school level of practice. Then you can get to high school and begin to unpack and unravel your mind now and lessen attachment and anger and depression and jealousy and anxiety. This is the wisdom wing. This is a profound level of practice. So what kind of person would you get as a result of this practice? You'd be a radiant, blissful, joyful, subdued, happy human being. That's already incredible. That's just the wisdom wing. And that's what this statue represents. He's the manifestation of exactly that, subdued body, speech, and mind, which of course is the classic image of a Buddha on this planet. You know, that's the Hinayana level. That's the wisdom wing. That's the first level of practice. We all have to accomplish that. Then we're qualified to go to the compassion wing, which is a way more outrageous level, where now, once you've subdued your body, speech, and mind, and we're talking if you seriously have, then you're capable of benefiting sentient beings in any way possible. The bodhisattvas are capable of showing anger, but it's truly based on compassion. And you can't just play with that. You can't walk around pretending, oh, I'm going to be compassionate to you and beat a person up saying you're being compassionate. Not possibility. You can't play with this idea. And that's just the Bodhisattva Sutra teachings. Forget the tantric ones, you know. So it's really high level of mind. And you've got to recognize the possibility of Buddhist psychology that we are capable of ridding the mind of all the delusions. We are capable of completely getting rid of anger and attachment. Now, the point is, the only person who's capable, even in the sutra teachings, of utilizing anger for the sake of a sentient being is a person who's given it up. And so that means you're pretending. You're pretending to be angry. You're pretending to use attachment. You're pretending to be jealous. And this is where it's so weird for our mind. But we've got to understand the logic of this. And this is the whole point about bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is this profound, amazing aspiration that's when you've finally got it, where you've made this paradigm shift in your mind that now only others exist for you. You've worked on your own self to the point that your needs are fulfilled. You're done. Not all the way yet. You've got more work to do, but you're a pretty profound person. So others are what exists for you now. And your only job is to support them, to help them. So of course, because you've got clairvoyance, you see their minds exactly, and you're not going to leave the crazies behind. You're just going to go and help the nice people. You want to help the wackos and the pedophiles and the crazies and the terrorists as well, because you've got infinite compassion for every single sentient being. And you'll do whatever you can in this life. And that's the point, not just to help them in this life, but you know, one person you can see they're really deluded. You know they're not ready to get enlightened for another 27 lifetimes, but you don't want to leave them behind. So you hook them, you make a karmic connection with them. And that means you might have to be rough with them. And you've got them in your little toolkit now. And then 27 lives later, when you meet them again, they'll be ready to be led to enlightenment using peaceful methods. So these bodhisattvas are pretty outrageous. But we've got to understand the possibility of this, which just by reading the literature, by reading Buddhist psychology. Otherwise, it just sounds awful. Not to mention the tantric level. This is even more outrageous. So, I mean, this stuff is also public now. It's in books and everything. Even when I first met the Dharma in the mid-70s, we weren't allowed to look at the deities. We weren't allowed to look at because these were secret. But everything's just so naked and public now. And we jump in the deep end and don't understand what we're doing half the time. So, I mean, it's very profound psychology. It's very incredible psychology, much more dramatic and more outrageous and more amazing and more sophisticated, may I say that, than anything we can imagine in our modern psychological terms. And that's not a joke. So we have to understand the possibility that you can exist as a bodhisattva with only the thought to benefit others, and you will do whatever it takes based upon pure wisdom and pure compassion, unfailingly, to do whatever it takes to benefit sentient beings. You can understand that's a possibility. Then you can begin to understand wrathful deities. Then you can begin to understand, to comprehend the concept of how there can be, you know, a wrathful deity. I remember one time, it was actually very funny. This is very interesting now. It was just years ago, I remember reading about, there's an English big like a political expedition into Tibet, the young husband expedition. I remember seeing a whole bunch of volumes of books published by this young husband fellow who was very captivated by Tibet and had all these kind of beautiful, gravure prints of these back in the 1900s, early 1900s, these beautiful prints of all the different Buddhas. And I remember he was profoundly shocked. We had this picture of Palden Lhamo, glorious goddess, who looks like a monster. She's this dark blue body sitting on a mule in a sea of blood. She'd scare the life out of you if you met her in human form. And he was beyond shocked, devastated, when he heard that as far as Tibetans are concerned, that Queen Victoria was a human manifestation of Palden Lhamo. I mean, I'll never forget this guy. He was so freaked out. But this is normal among Tibetans, because you see, the way bodhisattvas and great Buddhas manifest is in human form to benefit the world. So she ran to, I mean, this is a shock for the all the people who've been imperialized, whatever the word is, by the British around the world. They ran, I mean, Queen Victoria ran 2/3 of the universe. And now she's seen as the naughtiest lady on the planet. Well, as far as the Tibetans are concerned, she's Palden Lhamo. Even I remember in Sydney, there's this beautiful architect, this beautiful place. It used to be a railway station, and now it's a fancy mall, and it's all this Victorian architecture. So the architects, when they had it all done, they found in India this beautiful big statue of Queen Victoria. It had been thrown out by the Indians, So they shipped it back to Australia and had it on a big pedestal just outside this very beautiful place. And I remember reading in the newspaper this little kind of gossip column in the Sydney Morning Herald. And then one little boy was heard saying to his grandma, when he looked at the statue of Queen Victoria, he said, "Grandma, what's the Buddha doing there?" He saw the Buddha, So it's kind of ironic when the Queen Victoria, this little short, little fat lady, because that's how wrathful deities manifest, as little short, fat people, that she's meant to be the queen of the run, and she's running 2/3 of the world. I mean, this is a different view of the universe. So there she is. She imperialized the world. She dropped bombs on people. She subdued everybody. That's what wrathful Buddhas do. This is very shocking to hear these things. But if we can comprehend the logic of the bodhisattva path, then it makes sense. That's why you can't understand that until you've understood Buddhist model of the mind, which is so precise and so different from modern psychology, That's a very interesting story. I love that story. He was shocked. This big monster, this blue-titted monster, sitting on a mule in a sea of blood, was their precious queen. It blew his mind, Anyway, there's a nice story. But all the Tibetans, you read it, they all say, "Oh yeah, she's Tara," or they say, "Oh, Tara." Tara is just a peaceful aspect of. They're all kind of like cousins and sisters and aunties and uncles, these deities, So they often talk about Tara being the same as Palden Lhamo, but Palden Lhamo is this wrathful one. So we've got to think about these things and get past the images, get past the overt, get past the overt image that we see, and try and understand the psychology behind it. That's what we have to learn to do. But of course, at our own pace. But I mean, because, if you go to some nice Catholic, saintly Catholic practitioner and tell them to pray to some wrathful black dude naked, I mean, he'd think, I mean, even for some Christians, even meditating, they think it's inviting the devil. So they'd have a mental breakdown if they heard these things, So we've got to be suitable vessels for these types of teachings, We've got to know what we're ready for. Some people have automatic faith in it. Some people just come straight into this life, and as soon as they hear the images and see them, they understand, unless they've got a strong karmic connection. Others not, Anyway, are there any other questions, please?
Yes, Venerable, there are actually a few. So one from Alaria. She's already on mute.
Go on.
Yeah, hi. Hi. I think you actually answered my question. I come from a Catholic background, and I don't want deliverance from the outside. So I've been practicing Tara for a while. Wonderful. But my question is, when we absorb Tara into ourselves, what quality we can take with us as we progress into the practice? Like, I don't want deliverance. To me, if the practice is not transformative of my life, of me, it's just a souvenir on a shelf, which I don't want.
So, darling, that's why it's necessary to understand what each of these Buddhas represents psychologically. So that's the practice. When you know what Tara represents psychologically, then you first of all, you visualize her outside you, then you dissolve her into you, and when you've taken the empowerment, then you then imagine yourself literally becoming exactly that quality. So you have to know what Tara means. Every one of them has to be. It's not just a pretty picture, as you said. So Tara, there's different ways of describing her, but typically she represents one of the three essential qualities of a Buddha. Three essential qualities. One is wisdom, which is represented by Manjushri. One is compassion, represented by Chenrezig, and one is power or action. And Tara is like, she's often called that one: action, power, success, confidence, courage. Cut through the obstacles, make things happen. She represents that energy. So you buy into that meaning, and when you absorb her into you, you visualize becoming that. That's exactly the point.
But what can I give outside to the other?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that, John? Give outside.
I don't want internal, like I don't want Tara to absorb within myself, and then
no, but darling, wait, no, sweetheart, Ilaria, wait, please, Ilaria, wait. You must do that. You are trying to become Tara. You are trying to become Tara. So what do you mean? What are you going to give on the outside? What do you mean, darling? I need to understand you.
How can it be transformative? Like
for whom? For whom, sweetheart? Ilaria, please, these are really important questions. For whom are you talking? What do you mean here? What do you mean, sweetheart? We're not communicating.
In my day-to-day life.
Sweetheart, listen to me.
Because I don't like to wait until I become a Buddha, Venerable Robina, to benefit the whole being. I want to do it now, bit by bit. Is he arrogant?
Ilaria, okay, we've just described the meaning of Tara. You've heard that, yeah? And you're talking about practicing Tara, yeah?
Yes.
And you talked about dissolving Tara into you, yes?
Yes.
So, and you're trying to identify with yourself, slowly identifying with yourself, becoming that energy. Yes?
Yes.
Then what more do you want? What's the question next? Be careful. What's the next question from that? You're trying to become Tara. So why are you trying to become Tara?
To benefit.
Thank you, darling. So how do you think you're going to benefit? You benefit, Tara. If you're learning to play tennis and you become a tennis player, that's how you help people with tennis. If you're practicing Chenrezig and you're becoming compassion, that's how you help. If you're becoming Tara, that's how you help. You've got to understand that psychologically what she means. So if you're becoming that, then you help in that way. It's very integrated. It's very logical. It's very organic.
All right.
One at a time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You see my point? Are we communicating now?
We are communicating. Yes.
Good,
yes.
darling. I'm very happy. What's next,
Thank
please?
you.
Next question, please. You need time to go.
Next one is from Katrina. Would you like to unmute yourself, please?
Yes. Hello, Venerable Robina.
Hello,
Thank you.
sweetheart. Yes.
Hello. My question is, I think last week you said something about if you have your main deity, your yidam, then
Yes.
you know your main delusion. I think that's...
Often that's a way of recognizing, because if each of these deities represents different states of mind, when you get to know yourself, what your main problem is, then obviously the deity you practice should be very helpful to be that one, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And what relating to the Tara, what would be the main delusion?
Well, I mean, in general, there's some of the Buddhas are just more general, but you've got to get into the more specific versions of them in the highest Yoga Tantra version. There are many different versions of the deities in the highest Yoga Tantra. So then as you become more familiar with them, you would get to learn to understand them.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Good, darling.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. What else, people?
Yes, there is one question from Christina. I have to, because there's a quite long in the chat, so I have to find it. Oh, okay. So could you please explain how a Buddha takes a material body as he has no negativity?
That's the question?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is where we have to understand the Vajrayana, I think. The Vajrayana is, in a sense, it's very simple, even though it's the most advanced teachings. According to the Vajrayana model of the universe, when we've got minds and we have physical matter. Well, I mean, this is the same in the sutra teachings, but in the Vajrayana, they describe the physical matter in terms of being the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. So Buddha describes now all the different realms of existence within samsara. The God realms are beings as a result of virtue, whose minds, due to virtue, are very blissful and radiant, and whose physical energy is now subtle light, because the virtue purifies the physical elements. So your body manifests as a body of light, basically, and you've got these very blissful karmic appearances. Now, further down, you've got the human realm. We certainly don't have bodies of light, but we've got a physical body looking very much like a monkey, but so our elements are fairly gross, but we've got access to our virtue. So it's probably the best rebirth to get, because you can't practice in the God realms because you're so blissed out. But then you've got the suffering realms. Animal realms is a predominance of ignorance energy, and you could argue their body's a bit like ours, but a bit more hairy and a bit more gross. Then you've got the spirits, which are the predominance of attachment energy, and their bodies, you probably can say, are made of air. Their minds are conjoined with air energy, so they can flit from pillar to post and can possess people, and they like ghosts. You can't see them with your eyes, but their physical energy is more like air. And then the hell realms, you could argue, their mind, due to anger, their mind is conjoined with mainly with the fire element, and they have the karmic appearances of incredible suffering. So karma, just naturally, the actions we do, so as Lama Zopa says in the Kala Chakra Tantras, in all the explanations, there are these detailed descriptions of the intimate relationship between internal and external energy. And this is getting to exactly your question. And when we understand this model, it makes sense. So with a hell being is a being who, due to much deluded activity, let's say as a human being, they killed, they were harmful, there's much arrogance, much anger. And then at the time of their birth, one of their karmic seed was triggered, and they get born as a hell being of intense experience of incredible suffering. And their mind is conjoined with fire energy due to their past actions. So the spirits, due to their past actions, humans, all of us in karma. Now, once you've completely purified, as Lama Zopa says in the Kala Chakra Tantra, he says there's an intimate relationship between internal and external. Internal is the mind. External is the physical elements. So all minds are conjoined with their own set of the 4 elements. And as Lama Zopa says, even just having angry thoughts, in your subtle body, you've got this 72,000 subtle channels coursing through those channels are all these different wind energies or prana, and all our different states of mind are connected to those different wind energies. So if you continue to be practicing anger, you pollute your mind, you develop the habit of anger, and then in turn you pollute the wind energies connected to your anger, and eventually that in turn manifests as a type of rebirth, like a hell being, or in a human body, it'll manifest as sickness, and then in turn eventually it impacts upon the external elements, and that causes the physical environment. So we are the creators of everything. Now, a Buddha is a person who's finished all that work. They've cleaned up all their mind. They've rid the mind of all the garbage. So by that way, they've completely purified their body. And when they finally become a Buddha, their mind is completely purified. It's got infinite wisdom, infinite compassion. Their 4 elements are still there, but manifesting just as subtle potential. They don't need a gross body anymore. They don't need any kind of body, not even a body of light, but they manifest in bodies. And even the lowest level bodhisattva, like I said, can manifest in 100 different bodies simultaneously. And by the time you're Buddha, because you're in complete control of the universe now, you can manifest in millions of bodies simultaneously. Because your mind you've got your own 4 elements, and you can manifest those 4 elements in any body you like. You're in charge of the universe now. So that's the point. So the principle of to understand how they can do it is that all minds are conjoined with our own set of the 4 elements. And when you're fully realized with no delusions and only realize emptiness and only have compassion, you have infinite power to transform your own elements into any form that you like, including tables and chairs and mountains. I hope that answers your question. It's a technical thing. You've got to understand the Vajrayana model first. Are we communicating? Whoever answered that question.
Christine?
Please answer me.
Is it good?
Who asked the question?
It was Christine.
Where are you, Christine? I want to see you. Where are you? Honey child, where are you? Please talk to me.
Raise your hand. Was in the chat.
Anyway, maybe she's fainted. Maybe she got so shocked.
No, I'm not shocked. Can you see me?
Okay, good. But did you hear my answer?
Yes, of course. Excellent.
Okay, good. I'm very happy.
Thank you very much.
Well, darling, pleasure. Oh, there you go. I see you, Christina. Thank you, sweetheart.
Okay.
So we can look forward to becoming Buddhas. I can't wait to be a Buddha. I know when I first heard about being a Buddha, I thought you have to be quiet and humble. But then I thought, no, I'm going to be the biggest, fattest, loudest Buddha on the planet. And I feel very happy about that. And manifest in millions of forms in all the universes to benefit every single sentient being. We've got to think big, okay, Christina?
Of course. Thank you very much. Good point.
Good. So let's finish the questions before we go home, because that's our last.
I think Christian has a question. Please unmute yourself.
Good, talk to me.
Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Venerable Robina. Just about coming back to that. So when you become Buddha, yes, in the Dharmakaya state, how would I imagine that? Does it also manifest in all other sentient beings that already have a mind possessor by definition?
Sorry, darling, I'm confused about your question. Start again, Christian.
So you have the mind. Every sentient being already has a mind by himself, but me, for example, or any other person that is still in samsara, could it be also that the Dharmakaya manifests in that person, or the Dharmakaya will manifest every single time, or could manifest every single time when another person or a sentient being is born?
Christian, I don't know, why would the Dharmakaya want to crawl into your body? Why would they want to do that?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Think it through. Why'd you ask the question? You got to have a logic for asking the question.
No, I'm just hypothesizing.
I know, but why would you want to hypothesize that? I'm asking you the question. Why would the Dharmakaya want to crawl inside Christian's body? What would happen to Christian's mind? Why would they want to do that?
Yeah,
I'm trying to not be rude. I'm just asking you a literal question. How would they benefit by doing that?
Well, it would benefit me, wouldn't it?
No, you don't know they wouldn't. Why would they want to be in your body? They're going to have plenty of other bodies that can manifest in any bodies they like, honey. They've completely controlled the universe. They've got their own set of the 4 elements. They can manifest their elements into any form they like. They don't need to have your body. They can manifest as your girlfriend and the rat in the kitchen to benefit you, honey.
But in that case, any other person that I would meet, if they're still in samsara,
What?
I'm confused.
What's the question? Huh? What's the question?
So, I mean, the way I understood it basically is, I mean, as we ordinary beings that are still deluded, we are still living in samsara. There's no chance that any person that is still in samsara can have or can be also the Dharmakaya, right?
Precisely. Therefore, stop right there. Stop there. That's right. Yeah. You can't be not the Buddha and the Buddha at the same time. So you're not the Buddha. So then what's your question? You're not the Buddha. So what's your question?
You just said that that it could manifest, for example, in a friend that I meet.
I said the Buddha's mind. Once you're a Buddha, even before that, the lowest level bodhisattva, honey, has the power to manifest in at least 100 different forms or bodies for the sake of sentient beings. So then they would manifest in whatever form they like. They don't need somebody else's body. They've got their own, they can make their own bodies. So what's your question, darling? It's really important to follow through. So what's your question? Where are you coming from? What's the question?
No, but then I think I understand. So if you're saying it can manifest in any other body, it would mean that
they've got their own, and why is the logic I gave before, that every mind is inextricably linked with its own set of the 4 elements. And when you're finally liberated and you're a Buddha, you've got the potential of your 4 elements right there. So you can manifest, you're like a magician. You can manifest as a toilet over there, a dog here, a light there, your ugly girlfriend over this place. But of course you can't tell. As they all say in Tibetan, you don't know who anybody is, so don't judge. But yeah, that's what they're capable of doing. They don't need someone else's body. That's the point. Are you seeing what I'm saying now?
Yes, I can see, yeah.
Good, fantastic. Very clear.
Thank you.
What else? More questions before we finish?
Does anyone have more questions?
Well, that's enough for now.
Yes, there's more.
More? Okay, go on.
Okay, so there's one more, but I will just read it out.
Good, darling.
Yes, because I think everyone's quite interested in that as well.
Good.
So some of us here are actually, it's their first class with you on Green Tara. So I think it doesn't hurt to kind of have a little summary on what we taught. So the question was, let me just have, it's quite on top of the chat. Okay, so what is the purpose or the use of visualization and practicing the mantra? How is it that you use this practice for your own spiritual growth? That's it. That's a question.
That's like asking me, how do I benefit by playing tennis? Obviously, if you want to be a tennis player, so you find a tennis coach and then you replicate that coach's advice and you eventually become a tennis player. So then the benefit to you is you become a tennis player. That's the analogy of the wisdom wing. Now, if you want to do the compassion wing, you obviously want to teach other people how to become a tennis player. That's exactly my point earlier. So then why do I want to think about, why do I want to train my mind into becoming a compassionate mind, a wise mind, a generous mind? Guess what? Because that's my potential, and how marvelous you'd become if you become Tara, become Chenrezig, if you develop your mind in that way. And then the reason you do those practices is so that you can help others become exactly the same thing. That's the reason. So, and that's all based on the logic of karma, which is that every millisecond of whatever we think and do and say programs us into what we become. So your goal is to become a Buddha. So then you practice controlling your body and speech first and making it disciplined and ethical. Then you practice changing your mind from being deluded and neurotic to being virtuous and compassionate. Why? For your own sake. Then you enter into the compassion wing and you continue to practice, but now because you want to help others do exactly the same. That's the reason behind it. Does that make sense? The person who asked.
I think so.
Good. I hope so. Any other questions?
If we have time, Donna also has a question.
Yes, please.
Good evening.
Hello.
We are using two concepts, reincarnation and emanation of the mind. I would like to know if there is a difference or it's the same thing.
No, basically reincarnation is this natural process that occurs when you are in samsara. A person who is in samsara, whether you're a hell being, a spirit, an animal, a god, a human, a form being, or a formless being, there's a whole spectrum of possibilities of sentient beings. The definition of being a sentient being is we're still caught up in ego, in the root delusion, and then attachment and anger and all the other dramas. We're caught up to one degree or another in those misconceptions. That qualifies us as a sentient being. So as long as we're driven by those different states of mind, according to the degree of those states of mind, we're going to get a rebirth as a hell being or a spirit or an animal or a human or a god realm, depending on the karma we create. And we keep cycling between these lives, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. That's the process of reincarnation. It's a natural thing that occurs and it's driven by the law of karma. This is Buddha's findings, his own direct findings. It's not punishment, it's not reward, it's just the way the universe is. So now Buddha has said, he's found a method to cut that whole cycle of rebirth, to cut being reborn here, then there, and continually suffering. And that is, we need to cut all those delusions from our mind. When we achieve that, and that's the wisdom wing, we don't need to be reborn anymore. We just stay in a state of subtle bliss. But we can do more than that. We can enter into the compassion wing, and we can even then add bodhicitta and all this amazing compassion to the mix. And we can then become a Buddha who now is capable of manifesting, emanating consciously, totally consciously, in billions of forms, like I've been saying, solely for the sake of sentient beings. So one differentiation is intention. Reincarnation is a compulsive thing that just occurs because we're not in control. But once you've gone beyond all that and you then choose to be reborn, you can emanate in whatever bodies you like for the sake of suffering sentient beings. So it's a question of the level of wisdom and capability. Does that answer your question, sweetheart?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Donna. What else then? Any more on the list there?
I hope I didn't miss anybody.
Okay.
Alona, do you still have your hand up? No, okay, good. Then there's no hands up. Okay. Oh yes, Laura has a question. Just
all right, Laura, darling, ask me a question.
Yes, yes. So are the deities, the different Buddha deities, inherently existing?
What's the question? Sorry.
So the different Buddha deities, do they?
The different deities.
Yeah.
What about?
Do they? Is there anything inherently existing about them?
Okay, so I have to ask you the question, your definition of inherently existing. I think you must have a different definition from the Buddha. What do you mean by inherently existing?
Meaning that it's not like everything else in samsara that is dependently originated.
Well, Buddha would say there can't be anything that exists that's not dependently originated. It's not a possibility.
Including the deities, therefore.
It's not a possibility. More than anything, a deity. Because you can only become a deity because you're not inherently existent. Something that's inherently existent can't exist. That's the key point to understand. And so by your asking, there's an assumption if it's good, it must be inherently existent. Nothing, that's the wrong meaning altogether. Okay. Something that's inherently existent is something that doesn't exist independently, that something exists in itself, set in stone, without depending. Nothing can exist without dependent arising. Nothing. But I think what the implication of your question, which is not an uncommon one, is that there's something kind of limited about being dependent arising. Somehow we feel there's got to be something beyond dependent arising. And that often is the concept of a creator that's beyond everything. That's not the Buddhist view at all.
No, I suppose my implication of dependent arising is that if you take away one of the components of dependent arising, then the other one will disintegrate as well. So
no,
like
I don't understand that meaning at all. Give an example.
So for example, if we liberate, as I hope we will, all sentient beings from samsara, then samsara ceases to exist. And if samsara ceases to exist, then nirvana ceases to exist.
No, of course it doesn't. That's nihilism. No, darling.
I always go back to that.
There would only be nirvana. When you've eliminated samsara, you're mistaking the meaning of emptiness here. You're chucking the baby out with the bathwater, and you're thinking that when there's no samsara, there's no nirvana. That's from the Heart Sutra, but you're misunderstanding the meaning. That's nihilism. Okay. You fall into nihilism. Okay, if everybody is given up suffering, there is only nirvana left, liberation from suffering. That can never cease. That can never cease, darling. Ever, ever, ever. So it's sort of, I can see where you're coming from, but there's some misconceptions there. So you should go back to the basics and study it and get clear.
Yes, I will do. Yes.
Right, darling.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. And I will see each other again somewhere, sometime, I'm sure. I think we're booked up for some more classes in April or something. I forget. If I've got any voice left, you can hear my voice is disintegrating. Whatever, what to do. Never mind. I'll try and manage. So then we'll just finish with our dedication, and I want to do it in just the words. I don't want to sing the prayers. I mean, I might sing, but just to do it in words, okay? We just sing.
Could we do since it's the last class of this, could we still take a moment to do the long life prayer for yourself, please? Would you allow that?
Okay, then do that just for the sake of it, and do it privately. Do it to ourselves. I mean, don't put the non-thing on. That's fine. Whatever you want. Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
In case somebody doesn't have it, I would love to share it.
We dedicate, yeah. So sure thing. Okay. And then we can dedicate. That's good. So thank you for your prayers, because I'm sick right now, and I'm not trying to be self-piteous. It's just a fact. So I'm very happy to have your prayers and encouragement I'll do my best to live long.
Please do.
I don't have very much control over it, but I'll try and bully death into submission.
And we try to help, Venerable, as much as we can, because so your success.
So kind. So kind. Okay.
Is the prayer visible on your screens?
Yes.
Okay. A prayer for the long life of Venerable Robina Courtin. And if anybody wants to unmute yourself, feel free. No, it's not a must, but if you like to, you're welcome to. A prayer for the long life of Venerable Robina Courtin, dedicated, compassionate, devotional wives, the dynamic female teacher, of FCMC and all beings entitled the rain
a rain of nectar, extinguishing the conflagration of delusion.
Mother of the victorious ones,
Mighty One, you are the destroyer of
directions,
delusions. Reveal the Dharma of scripture and realization, spreading the mental continuum of transmigratory beings, by eliminating the two obscuration, including the ignorance,
kind you
what you
are.
are.
All your wishes, the incidents of the practice, may your life be stable until samsara ends. Mighty One, destroy all the enemy delusions,
May all your wishes be
reveal the
instantly
Dharma,
fulfilled.
scripture and realization,
Samsara
and
ends.
continuum of
Blessings
transmigrating
of the hero, the
beings.
deity, and the Dharma
Mighty
Buddhism.
of the two
Unbetraying actions and the results.
how kind are
The truth
you?
of ultimate
All
reality.
your wishes
All my lifetimes now
may your life be
displeased for
until
my
samsara ends.
second.
Blessings of the Guru,
The Guru, and may all the vital
protected
prayers
and
be fulfilled.
unbetraying actions and the results as well as truth, ultimate reality. Lifetime displeased for me. May I only please and never displease for you and samsara. May all the vital points of my prayers be fulfilled.
And may all the vital points of my prayers be fulfilled.
Points of my prayers be fulfilled.
Okay, may all our prayers be fulfilled. May all the holy beings live long, and may every one of us live long. I mean, this is very important. We need to practice virtue on this planet. We need to be, for our own sake, but we make examples. So make strong aspirations, every one of us, to continue to practice and keep topping up your petrol tank of non-killing karma, which is why you live long. To keep practicing long life prayers, keep practicing these White Tara, for example, she's for long life. Keep practicing virtue. This is marvelous. This helps your life stay strong and healthy. And then we can be of use to everybody. So have that aspiration, people. Okay. May we all become Tara. Very simple. So we can have power and courage and optimism and rush around the world benefiting others. How amazing. Think like that. So then from the seeds we've planted on these days together, may exactly our motivation manifest as our Buddhahood, just as we've said, so we can really be a benefit to others. And that's our dedication, okay? Thank you, precious ones. So kind, everybody. Much love. Or somewhere again soon, somewhere, who knows?
Thank
Okay,
you,
Venerable.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Venerable Robina.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Talia.